Caitlin, is it true that when you get mad, your hair gets redder?
Yes, it actually combusts into flames.
Right, okay. What do you say to a client that asks you, or even a friend, what's the best exercise for weight loss?
Good question. I like to think that there's not necessarily a best exercise for weight loss, but it is more of an all encompassing movement for the body. If you are taking the right care of the body with nutrition and exercise, then weight really doesn't end up being a problem.
What's the best exercise for strength?
The best exercise for strength is also vitamin movement, but really it comes down to loading the body up, not selling yourself short, and actually using weight.
What do you say to your clients when they ask you, how many workouts a week should I do?
Great question. How many workouts a week should someone do? I would say is at a minimum at least 2 times a week focused on exercise specifically, which is going to be different than activity. Activity is that chasing your kids around the yard or playing fetch with your dog, taking your dog for a walk or yourself, versus exercise is going to be at a minimum 30 minutes twice a week focused on high intensity movement. And high intensity doesn't necessarily mean, jumping or extreme movement, but challenging your body in ways it's capable of thriving.
Vigorous.
Vigorous, yes, that's a good word.
Yeah, it's important to make that distinction between those two things so that you're not counting something that isn't a workout as a workout, because you got to get both.
Yes.
Right. To expand on that point too, I think it brings up the important question is that it's not just about like how much you're working out in a week, but viewing this as a process and a commitment for time, that you're not just looking at, well, how many minutes during this given week or during this month do I plan on working out? If you're planning on being fit and healthy this year, next decade, and into your older years, you want to think of the long haul and think of the process long term and what that investment really means, and that it's not just about like how much you put into a week, but like what's the big picture? What do you really want to be doing on a regular basis for a long period of time? So look at the big scale of time and what's the minimum amount that you can get away with versus like what's the most if you really went aggressive, but make it realistic. It needs to be sustainable. In the context of functional training, what about cardio?
Great question. In the context of functional training, what about cardio? One of the things I love about functional training is that you can pack in strength, mobility, and stamina all into the same movements. So you don't necessarily need to go run your 6 miles, which can be really hard on a body, and then also hit the weight rack. You can combine a lot of different approaches to fitness all with functional training. So I love that I can spend my 30 minutes twice a week getting my cardio, mobility, stability, and strength all covered, and then the rest of my week is just living my life.
Right. Yeah, I find after my functional training workouts, if I've done everything, if I've had the time and I've been able to put myself into my just my basic functional training workout, I have a cardio workout already right there.
Exactly.
And I feel like it wasn't enough, then I can just hit it hard at the end because I've already got my heart rate way up, and I can just sustain that as long as I want and just hit some more cardio-based type movements like thrusters, kettlebell swings, battle ropes, burpees, whatever is full body and gets the heart moving. You can do so much with just your body weight, and especially 1 or 2 basic pieces of equipment. You can get a great cardio workout, and you don't need a machine. And when it's smoky or something, you don't even have to go outside. So it's good that in the winter months ahead that we still have options that we can do indoors, and you don't need that much space and you don't need thousands of dollars of equipment. You just need the right plan and the right attitude, right?
Exactly.
With functional training or fitness in general, what about pain? So if a client is asking you, when do I stop? What if I feel pain? How do we approach that?
I love that question because I like to think that it is some of our mission to change the mindset surrounding no pain, no gain. That's not realistic and that's not sustainable. you can't just power through pain. Pain is usually a symptom of something going wrong or something happening in your body, and it's a communication signal from your body I think we need to listen to. So when it comes to pain, my best advice would be scale back, reassess, check your form, and go back to the basics. If you're trying to level yourself up and you're feeling pain, maybe you're not ready. Maybe you need to practice the basics a little bit more. If the basics are too hard for you, it's why we offer regressions. There's always a way for us to meet a body where it's at, and we can get through it, and it might be uncomfortable, but it's not painful. Pain and discomfort are totally different concepts, and burning, working hard, feeling tired, all of that is stuff we want to work through. But actual pain, as Thomas Meyer says, is the motor sensation to withdraw, stop, reset, readjust, go back into it safely.
Scenario, new client. I used to be really fit and strong, but I'm not anymore for sure. Can I ever be, or will I ever be again?
I love meeting that client because they usually surprise themselves. Muscles and tissue, they all remember. They remember where they were, they remember what they went through, and they'll take you there as long as you're willing to stimulate them in the right way again. I was a high school athlete and I haven't done anything for 30 years, new clients. Within that 4-week starter pack we give them, they are noticing a lot of what they were good at, they are getting better at again. And it's really cool to see them thrive in that way, even after a break. So I would say, for anyone who had a history of fitness and maybe steered away from it a little while and they want to get back into it, but they're not sure they're going to be at the same caliber. Again, it comes back to meeting yourself where you're at. You might not be where you were,
Right.
but if you want to get there again, I totally think that's possible.
Right. Yeah, and add to that, I just want to emphasize, don't let the discouragement of your past self be some kind of blockade between you and getting back there or doing even better. So many people are hung up on how they used to be, and they feel like that was then, this is now, and they have to accept it. Nothing can be further from the truth. If you've set a standard for yourself and you've completed that, you've shown yourself what your potential is, and you've done it before, you can definitely do it again. So use that as a model of success and springboard off of that, and use yourself as your role model to get back there. You absolutely can. Okay, so similar situation, another scenario. I've never been strong before. I've never been an athlete, and I've never really worked out much. I've never felt true strength. Can I still get strong?
I almost like that client even more because yes is the easy answer, and it takes time is the hard answer. But an example would be, I had a client start with me pretty recently, and they, outside of maybe walking and general household type stuff, they've never really had true strength. And just within a month or two of us training twice a week, all of a sudden they don't have back pain and things in their life are lighter, and they didn't realize how much life was actually weighing on them with simple tasks.
Right.
And watching that person see the changes in their body and get to a place where they feel like, okay, yeah, I do feel strong, and now I want to take it to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
What does strength plus endurance look like?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's find out. Let's take you there. So I love that client, just as much, if not more, than the client who's had a history of movement, because their eyes light up at their ability to achieve something they've never done before. And
Right.
at first, it can be a little bit hesitant and scary, but once they overcome that with even a session or two of practice, and all of a sudden they're much better at this movement pattern, it's really cool to see that excitement and that playfulness in the gym.
Totally. They surprise themselves.
Totally.
That's the first step. You surprise yourself, and then you start believing. Instead of just listening to your trainer and coach and just expecting that might be possible, it might be possible for somebody else but not me, you start seeing it as a reality, and you accept, I really am strong. I really can do this. So absolutely, that's one of my favorite things, because let me set your mind at ease. If you've never been strong before, it's a straight path to strength through a program like this. Your body will have no choice. It doesn't matter that you don't think yourself strong or you don't have the genetics. Whatever you go through in this program and you start adding these ingredients in, you will absolutely measurably get stronger, perhaps stronger than ever before. So just enjoy the ride and expect that to happen. Yes, even to you, it's a reality. Another hypothetical client, somebody who's new starting to fitness, and they say to you, I've done X brand of fitness before, and it could have been from the 80s, 90s, or modern era, something that, is well known, and it might have worked well for them, or they were, maybe they had some problems with it. How does our model of functional training in this program compare to other common fitness trends that people are more familiar with?
Good question. One of the things that first drew me to the functional training model, especially what we do here at Straight Line, is that it's whole body movement. At no point am I isolating a specific area, but I'm treating the entire system like a unit. So there's nothing we do in here that is just machine driven or one muscle group at a time. And it's all of these various aspects of what you want out of a fitness program packed into each one of those movements. So I am getting total body mobility, total body stability, and total body strength and endurance all within almost every single type of movement we do in here. And watching people with fitness notice like, hey, this part of my body was achy or restricted in movement, and a couple weeks later that's not even a thing they're noticing anymore. That to me is what sets us apart from any of the other standard programs I've seen out there. And I've tried several of them myself, and it always makes me want to ask the question, why'd you quit? And more often than not, people will have quit because pain set in, it wasn't sustainable, it was too much of a time commitment. I hear a lot of those reasons and excuses, and I almost never run into those here at Straight Line.
Right. Just to add to that, I feel that many other fitness programs, modern programs included, often hyper-specialize in one idea, that they're focused on just weight loss or just endurance or, something, of that nature, where they hone in on one area of improvement of the body by itself, and they neglect often, unfortunately, other areas where they might get a lot of flexibility in, but there's a lack of strength and stability, or they focus too much on strength and they actually lose mobility. So that was my draw toward functional training, was how it checked all of the boxes. It left nothing that had our need untouched. Everything was looked after, nothing was neglected, and everything's improved together without leaving anything else as an expense that you have to pay to get it.
I'm a fitness trainer and a roster coach. I'm using my body all day, every day. Why do I need to work out outside of that?
A lot of people have the same exact situation where you're using your body throughout the day, you feel that you're doing enough. How could you even have the energy to do more? And if you're already so active, aren't you doing enough throughout your day to meet all of your possible needs? And the answer is possibly, on average, but just barely. And the problem is that you're never going to have a series of perfectly average days throughout your year. You're going to have some easier days where you don't do as much, and you're going to have some above average days, and you're going to have some really hard days. And the problem is that your body is not adapted to just give you the ability and the output for your hardest day when the demands are suddenly out of your control, just heavier upon you. You have to work more hours, you have to be on your feet more, or you slipped on the ice, or whatever it was, some unplanned challenge to your body. That's not going to be integrated into your daily life naturally. So you have to work outside of the boundaries of whatever your physical demands are. Think of like an NFL player or any professional athlete. They could easily make the same case for their life. Like, I play hard enough out here. Why would I have to train? And it's pretty obvious that your training needs to be harder than your work. Because if it's not, you're only as fit as your average day, right? So the NFL player is only going to have the endurance for that average game. But the moment a tougher team comes onto the field, they're going to melt down, or they might even get injured. So same thing for us. We need to be more fit in every way than our worst day ever throws at us. So if your worst day or a collection of them would test your strength on one day of the year, and then your endurance on a different day of the year, and your stability so you don't hurt yourself, slip, fall, twist a knee or something like that on a different day, your training should be robust enough that when you go to work the next day, no matter how bad that day is and whatever it throws at you, that is still easier than your training, and you're more than adapted to all of those challenges.
Why would I choose strength over cardio?
That's a very good question. The good news is you don't have to choose one over the other, but you certainly could find that you need to emphasize one more than the other. So in the beginning of your programming and you're adapting your body systems to training, it's best to cover everything roughly equally so the body can get used to all of these things in harmony, and you can learn where the areas are that you need more emphasis. Some things that you might, let's say your strength is your strength and you do really well with that. So you know that the bare minimum is enough to keep it. You'll have to train even harder to gain more of it. Whereas with the cardio, you might be doing any amount of cardio and it's very, very hard. And you will grow faster in the cardio to catch up. So in the beginning, equal amounts of everything give you the perfect balance, which is what we're going for. And then eventually you might find that it's going to be a long haul for strength, that you might actually, if that's your weakness, you might have to step that up and do a higher ratio of strength compared to your cardio just to get even. So that's kind of the long-term plan, would be to do more emphasis in your workouts on strength, but still keep cardio as part of the picture. And then you can have your cake and eat it too.
What are the best exercises?
Right. Yeah, the golden question since the dawn of time of fitness. The funny thing is, this question comes up every single year, and there's always fitness bloggers and fitness personalities that want to come forth and answer that question like there's going to be a new answer. And they try to get really specific. And one year they'll say it's walking, and here's why. Or they'll say it's running, and here's why. They'll say it's Tabata training, and here's why. And the reason why it's such a huge argument, it might draw your attention to somebody who's so certain about a singular answer, but that's the purpose of the answer, is for you to go, well, why did they know that? Why is it that one thing? And there isn't one answer. And the reason why is that the reason why we're doing an exercise is part of a workout. The reason we're doing a workout is part of a fitness program. The reason why we're doing a fitness program is for Caitlin's body's needs, or for Keith's body's needs, or for Jan's body's needs. And each of those bodies and each of those programs are going to have different needs, requirements, and goals, right? So it's foolish to even imply that there could be a best exercise. There are certainly things that are more accessible and fundamental to our health. Walking, as an example, is the most natural and accessible exercise because we all should be able to walk, but it's kind of implied. So we can't say walking's the best exercise, therefore you don't need to work out beyond that. That's foolish as well, right? Because that's not going to get you any more strength. That's not going to help you get to be able to run if that's your goal, right? So really it's about what is the best program and what is the best collection of exercises for that program for your needs. By the way, it's kettlebell swings.
I know for me personally, I stay motivated because I have to make sure I'm tip tops so I can take care of my people. But I often run into motivation as a dilemma, motivation as a wall for some people. So tell me how you recommend to your clients ways for them to stay motivated.
Yeah, that's a really good and important question. To go out into fitness without asking that question would be to set sail without a destination. You want to really understand what this is all about, what it's for, and how your system works. When I say your system, I mean like your mind and your heart. You want to think about how you feel, how you think, what your world looks like. Because long term, it's about training the person, right? It's about you as a person, not just your body, but your mind as well. So motivation and what makes you work, what keeps you focused, what makes you want to do any of this is a very important subject matter. You want to answer that question very personally. You want to decide in the beginning, short and long term, what motivates you. Let's decide that. What helps? It's fine to work out because we know we're supposed to. That might help you make the decision to train, is knowing why it's good for you. But personally, all of our motivations are different. So what keeps me working out after a month, after a year, during a holiday break, during quarantine, on days when I'm tired, when I don't want to, on days where somebody's calling me to do something else that would be more fun and get me off the hook so I don't have to work out, that hits us all, and it's going to hit you all of your life. And it's your motivation and your commitment to what matters to you that's going to keep you in there. So you want to write that stuff down. You want to announce that to yourself and maybe even other people, why you work out. It's not to be healthy. We all want to be healthy, and we're all going to be if we work out. But to get there, you have to be able to have fuel in your tank just beside a reason that's universal. You have to have your own personal reasons, things that call you and put your heart into it, because you want to be able to play with your kids or your grandkids. You want to go out on the weekends and be able to have fun in the mountains without caution, just to be able to go out there and not be afraid of twisting your ankle or your knee or something, or getting too tired to where you can't continue, to give yourself the freedom to express yourself in the fullest quality of life that you want to have. But the exact definition of that is going to vary from person to person. So it's important to put an image to that, an exact image of what that freedom and what that feeling is like. So that's how you can frame your motivation. The other important part of that question is thinking of your workout being constructed on a series of foundations, and motivation's part of it, but as Jocko Willink says, motivation is fickle, so it comes and goes. It won't always serve you. There's going to be days you're not motivated, so you need more than motivation to keep this plan running, right, long term. So what do you do when you're not motivated? It's not how do you stay motivated. It's what do you do when your gas tank of motivation is dry. And what that is built upon is habits and discipline. So if you establish and value on a high level your own personal discipline, and you can exercise that through habits that you plan to establish and you work and integrate into your life, then those habits will carry you through on days that motivation is not present.
So how can functional fitness help us to pain-proof ourselves?
Good news about that. That's a great question, and it's good to know that doing exercise in general, being fit, being strong, being healthy, already does that. Functional training, one of the great strengths of it is the built-in application of the body's natural system of movements. So you're strengthening the very skills of the fundamental movements that our bodies are meant to do. And when you do that, you solidify the neurological patterns and the mechanical patterns that our bodies will do on a daily basis, or at work or at play, doing them slow, doing them fast, when you're tired. Those things will solidify and be fortified through your stability, everything that's baked into the functional training model. So at its fullest essence of what defines functional training is keeping the body from harm. So that's really at its core a big part of what functional training is about. So every exercise you do is going to bring you closer to that goal, even if that's not what you were targeting.
Why only 4 weeks for our starter?
That's a good question. So it's important to realize that 4 weeks isn't meant to be the finish line, where once you get to 4 weeks, now you're fit and you can stop exercising. The idea is to have a bite-sized chunk that you know you can absolutely do, that's a reasonable start, so you know you can get some momentum and get a fair taste of what this is like. But it's enough to actually make a difference, but it's also long enough to establish change, so that at 4 weeks you'll be able to see a difference and you'll have a momentum going mentally and physically, so that you'll want to do more and you'll be propelled by the hard work you've created and the results that you can see and feel, and you'll be able to, upon those habits and what's already in your life, move on from there. I like to think of Tony Robbins' quote, what's the easiest way to eat a whale is you got to chunk it. You got to carve it down into smaller pieces. You can't just start eating a whale and it would feel overwhelming, right? You know, if you had that task. So don't think about eating the whale. It's too big of a task. But if you just carve it up into bite-sized chunks, then all of a sudden you can just have one bite at a time. And this is a really good start. Is 4 weeks, you'll be able to get there, and then from there you'll be so in harmony with your body, and you'll have such a wave of momentum going in your favor that you'll hunger for more.
When we're finishing this 4-week program, what options do they have to continue?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's important to know that it doesn't end right at 4 weeks, that you're still planning to be on this wave that you've created, riding your energy, getting stronger, getting fitter, and it's only going to get better from there. You've already accomplished so much, you're at a certain level of fitness, you want to keep growing. So you do have options, and you do have value and resources already at your disposal. So even though this is a 4-week program, you're going to have access to it for 8 weeks. So please utilize all of that. You can go back through the entire program from the beginning, or you can go right to the exact workouts that you know were best for you, and even try different challenge levels. You can upgrade by doing some of the progressions and make it even harder and advance yourself that way, and get even more mastery and more value out of the program that way. And then from there, after the 8 weeks, then we have the options of doing virtual training live, one-on-one with us here at Straight Line through our virtual training, or you can join ClassPass, which is a series of ongoing released new fresh videos that we put out, similar to the workouts that you're doing now, but we keep updating them and we keep rolling them out every 10 days. It's a monthly membership program, so you have those options available to you.
What about Conan the Barbarian drew you to him?
Oh, that was just immediate, instant, slam dunk. There would have been no way I could have gotten away from Conan at that point in my life. I was like 7 years old. I had already seen the magazine, not even the comic book for kids, but the magazine. You have like the colorful Marvel comic book, which was still good and cool, and then you have like this huge, almost like graphic novel with like hand painted covers, and it's like R-rated content, and it's amazing story. It was like Game of Thrones basically on the page, black and white, great inks and everything. So there was that, and then like literally a couple months later, the movie came out with Arnold Schwarzenegger in his like huge debut role. I mean, it like changed my life literally on the day. It was like I saw that movie, was completely blown away by everything of the movie, but especially with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Conan. And the very next day, I think I started working out. That was like the day Keith started training, So Conan the Barbarian, the magazine, got me into art, and then within days, the character / Arnold Schwarzenegger got me into fitness, So it really helped shape who I am. So that movie, is even to this day just a great piece of cinema history. But personally, on so many levels, that movie just did so much for me. So it's a bit dated, but still, it's like one of the best like comic book based movies ever made. Cool.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Ah!